Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Leadership from the Heart. I am your host, Romie Montperuz. Welcome to the show. Today, we're joined by Jim Beebe, the founder of Athletic Builder and Unbreakable Athletes Academy. Jim is on a mission to help individuals forge unbreakable athletes in mind, body, and spirit. As a recent author and host of the Athletic Builder podcast, he's dedicated to helping others build the best version of themselves. With an MBA from Purdue University and a strong faith in Christ, Jim is committed to guiding people towards physical and personal growth. Let's just dive in and hear from Jim about how we can all become unbreakable. Jim, good morning and welcome.
Morning, Romie. That's a great intro. Thank you. I'm already smiling big on that, so I appreciate it. Thank you. That's awesome.
Of course. Thank you. So, Jim, let's jump right into I love the transition from people who go from like corporate America into like their biggest passion. So let's start with your world in finance, MBA from Purdue, and then 15 years of that, you said, enough is enough. I need to do what I love.
So that's kind of the crux of why I'm doing what I'm doing, right? And if you can get in and follow along, you'll understand the why, and the whys behind everything are usually what moves people. I always wanted to be an athlete when I was younger. Didn't have all the resources I probably needed.
Sure.
My parents supported me. They loved me, but they didn't know how to make me stronger or faster. And sometimes I wasn't always playing as much or as involved as many of the sports as I wanted to be. And by the time I went to high school, humbly, my high school is outstanding athletically. They have over 50 state titles in the last 25 years. They average like 2 a year. It's ridiculous. And if you're not really good, you're not playing.
Right.
And I was just average. And so I played my freshman year in basketball and then got cut after that and just thought, well, maybe I'm just never going to be an athlete like I really kind of wanted to be. And I was good at math, and my family was like, hey, you're good at math. You should be an engineer. You know, Purdue's a good engineering school. So I left Ohio, went to Purdue, and I'm in engineering, and I hated it. I did still like math. I thought maybe run my own business someday, but be in business would be good for me. And so 3 semesters in, the engineering department invited me not to return. So I transferred over to business and then graduated. You know, I'm doing the whole thing. You get married, you live in a point, 3 kids and the dog. And 7-8 years later, after I'm married, I go through a divorce, and I go back to get my MBA. And I'm doing better. And professionally, I'm going to keep moving up. I finished my MBA. It's a 2-year program, did it in 1 year. And I come back and I'm working for JP Morgan, the biggest bank in the country, dominant. We're doing lots of stuff there, trading, high net worth clients. And I'm just getting bigger and bigger. Like, you're taking these clients out, these rich meals, high calories, plenty of booze. And I'm 270, 290, 300, 310. And I have 3 kids, and they're with me about almost 50% of the time. And I'm just throwing the football back and forth with my oldest. He's like 8 at the time. And I have my German Shepherd trained so that if my son throws a bad ball and it doesn't come to me, the Shepherd goes and gets it and brings it to me. That way I don't have to exert any energy. That's how bad and pathetic I was out of shape. And I asked my son, I go, Jack, hey, what do you want to be when you get big? And he goes, Daddy, I want to be an athlete. And I was like, yeah, I did too. And my dad was big. He was very unhealthy in a lot of ways and died early. My mother definitely knew how to eat better, but I never learned how to be athletic or push or strain or handle fear. So I just grew up with a lot of fear of trying things in sports and putting myself out there thinking, well, that's always for somebody else. I couldn't do it. And I saw that in my son. I'm like, I'm leading the next generation what I learned, and they're going to turn out the same way.
Right.
They're going to turn out fat. They're going to turn out fearful. And I'm walking up the stairs, and I'm kind of out of breath, and I'm like, nope, I'm not doing it. And so I went the cheesy P90X route, started losing some weight that way. Then I found some group training downtown Indianapolis at this place called NIFS. It was awesome. And then I started hearing about CrossFit. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to start doing CrossFit. I started losing more weight, signed up for a 5K run, a 10K, a half marathon. I find a CrossFit gym. I start training there, and pounds are coming off. I'm getting stronger. And I'm still at the bank, right? Working tons of hours. But in my free time, I'm making time to be healthier. Right. Go through this big transformation. And in 12, Working at JP Morgan is like being in the NFL, humbly. And they'll say, hey, we want you guys to bring in 100 million in assets this year. I'm like, this isn't Chicago or New York. It's just Indiana. So we had an outstanding year for all other brokerage firms or investment firms. Bringing 65 million is outstanding in a year. It's outstanding, but it wasn't 100. So once again, Jim's invited not to return in a few months. And I'm like, okay, all right. As I left MBA school, I grabbed this one book. I went and bought it at the store. It's like, if you're ever going to be entrepreneurial and start your own business, you need this textbook. I'm like, okay, well, down the road, I might want to start my own business. I pulled that book off my shelf. I just followed the book and wrote a business plan. And I said, what's it going to be like if I want to go from working in finance and investments? I'm going to run a small family business and make people stronger mentally and physically. I suffered through that for almost 40 years of my life. I'm like, no, never again. I'm going to learn a ton of things. I'm going to try to have that be my legacy with my family and all my clients. So I started in my garage late in 12. And in 13, I'm like, all in or not at all. But it's something you learn at the bank. Like, people that did well financially, they usually had some small business that they built up and sold. Also, it was part of their identity. It's what they wanted. And they didn't have any other side hustles that keep them afloat. Because if you're dipping the toe in both different waters, you're not really doing it. So I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to be doing investments on the side. I'm going to cash in all my investments, all my retirement accounts, take the penalties, and I'm going to rent this space in Plainfield, Indiana, on the west side of Indianapolis, and I'm going to open up a CrossFit gym. And that was March 7th of 13. So coming up here soon, it'll be 12 years. Running a small business is not like investing in the stock market or doing currency trades. It's not like that. You don't understand that there's little operational things, HR things, marketing things. You just don't know. I never learned that piece. So it was baptism by fire from the get-go. And like first year, 12 months in, 14 months in, had my car repossessed. I'm behind on everything. It's some weeks do I buy food or do I buy more gas for the car? I take care of my kids when I have them, and when they're off, there's no cable. I'm sleeping on the floor at the gym sometimes. And I find some other folks that had been doing what I was doing, and they were better at it, and just ask for some help here and there. I'm shoveling in books all the time. I'm listening to podcasts all the time, how to get better at not just coaching, but running a business. And it's just head down for a long time. And next thing you know, like, okay, well, I had a little win here, got a win there. 12 years later, they say, Tony Robbins always says 4% of businesses make it 10 years. So I'm like, okay. After 10 years, I thought maybe I can take a breath. And so the last 2 years, I want to expand my reach and started the business online. So that's why I have my own podcast and published a book and online course, things like that. But so I have my main gym and I have my online approach, and it's me and my wife and now 6 kids. And here we are.
That's an amazing story, dude. I love how you are able to take what you learned in the finance world and apply it as much as possible. I was reading about you. I was doing some research before the show, and I saw that you even adopted. I have an MBA as well, and so I understand when you're speaking about the business world, but I had never heard anybody take the SWOT analysis and make it towards a person. It's always towards a thing. And I thought that was remarkable. Tell me how was that an aha moment, or were you always able to take what you've learned and apply it in some sort of fashion, sort of like unconventional?
Yes, I've always been a genius.
That's good. I'm glad I propped you up that.
So Robert Greene's Mastery, that book.
Okay.
Excellent author on 48 Laws of Power, Mastery, Laws of Human Nature, War, all that stuff. And he's talking about Da Vinci. So Da Vinci's a painter, right? Well, he has an enormous background on science and human anatomy. And he also has a huge background on oil and paint and latex. And so when he's painting these paintings of people, he knows that certain parts of the body and the face, you can see a little bit more flushed because of the blood flow, which he knew from anatomy. So he's applying that. And I'm thinking you see all the books behind me. It's a small fraction. I'm a reader. Then there's my wife. She has about 800 books. I have about 250. So I'm pumping in all these books these last 10 years, and I'm taking notes and I outline things, and I'm thinking, well, shit, man, I learned things an MBA school that apply. I learned things in being athletic that apply. And so I'm thinking about this, like my podcast. I'm like, I'll go to a speaker who's a military guy, and those principles apply in the business world. In the business world guy, those principles apply in the athletic world. And the Michael Jordans of the world, those principles apply in the military world. So I'm thinking, well, I know a bunch of things in the different worlds. Aren't they applicable? They got to be. So even on last night's episode, I'm talking to this one lady. She's really great at being strong, not as good at moving the weight with her form. So I'm like, your competitive advantage, business term, is that you're really strong. Your limiting factor, business term, is that your form could be better. You bring up your limiting factor so you don't get beat. You improve your competitive advantage so you continue to beat other people. So I'm putting that in the book. In the SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, I'm like, that's got to be true in relationships, which it is, in your business, in your product or service, or as an athlete. So if you're a basketball player, maybe you can dribble well with your left, but not your right.
Yeah.
Weakness, right? That's a knowledge piece. Maybe you're great with skills, but maybe you're up all night late and you can't recover. Well, that's another limiting factor. So I just take the same principles. I mean, if they just apply, if all these rules apply, I don't really have to be smarter. I just keep applying this basic principles and rules and laws of the world over and over again and help people win that way. And that's all I do.
It's already here, huh?
Yeah,
Like
right.
everything you need is already here.
Yes. Just use it.
Just use it. Because we're always searching for like the next, big thing when everything you need, that's big. I like that a lot. So you lead mostly like young athletes, right? Up to the college level, or do you do adults like me? Young adults like me.
Young adults, right? I think 80+% of our business at the gym is adults, right? 20% is going to be student athletes. Online, it's about the opposite.
Okay.
80% student athletes, 20% adults. It's similar things, right? People have problems with their mindset on training. People have problems with knowing how to train, the knowledge, or maybe they're just not very coachable. What comes out of their mouth, working with teammates, or it could be that it's the training itself, or it's their nutrition, or it's their recovery. I just move the needle in all 6 of those areas. Now at the gym, it's predominantly the physical training, right?
For sure.
But it's the mindset that gets you through it. There's so many people that don't even come to the gym, my gym, because they're simply afraid.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh man, the people there are nice.
Yeah.
They're not assholes. Like, you're going to leave if they're an asshole, and I'm going to lose a ton of money. There's no way. Everyone's at a different level. Like, I got some kids that are just trying to be moving correctly. Maybe they're homeschooled or they're not very athletic. So I'm just trying to move them up a little bit and make them more well-rounded. I got some kids that want to play varsity. I got some kids that want to play in college. The soccer moms and soccer dads with the mom bods and the dad bods, they just want to look better with their clothes off, right? They want to have a better heart scan number, a better cholesterol number, be in shape, move some weight, not be out of breath. So we just train them based on where they want to go.
Yeah, no, that's super important that it's where they want to go, not necessarily where their coach wants them to go, because it's really hard. Although your coach can see something in you that you've never seen in yourself, and that's also important. It's also, I think, like you said, you've got to want to go there, because if you don't want to go there, it's going to be really tough to pull.
Good.
You said something about uncoachable. I want to dive into that, but I don't want to interrupt your thoughts, so we'll dive in after.
I just saw this, invite to go to Tony Robbins' thing coming up. It's an online thing. I've been to a few, and he keeps saying the number one thing is hunger, right? So if you have any kind of drive, everything else is really learnable. So you're right. Like, people come in and they want to get better. It's pretty darn easy.
Yeah.
They come in just thinking about the fears and how they look or how it's going to feel. They're already thinking about, oh, it's a 3-month contract. Oh, I can get out in 3 months. They're already out. They're already out. They're already out. Being coachable, like, everyone falls into that. I fall into that. Ego gets in the way. Oh, that person doesn't know me. I'm some special snowflake. Bullshit. You're not. You're not special. You get the same problems we all do. You're not squatting correctly, or you're not listening, or usually what happens is, like you said, the coach sees something. The weight's moving so quickly that they can put more on and be completely safe. But in the athlete's mind, they're like, oh man, that was heavy. That was slow. I can't handle anymore. It's simply not true. That's why you have a coach, a third party that's objective. And they push you. It could be in the sales world, right? Hey, You have a really great close rate, but you're only calling 2 people a day. Why don't you go to 4 people a day with the same close rate? You're going to have some better numbers. Oh, you really think so? Well, why don't we just give it a shot and try?
Right.
So that's what, the coaching is. You see things, you're making sure they're moving correctly, doing the right habits. And then you take wherever they're comfortable and you just move them a little bit.
Right.
You don't talk about, I want to get, big jumps. Mindset wise, that's not sustainable, right? The mind is comfortable with making small jumps. So you just keep making those small jumps every day if you can.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like unraveling as you're speaking. How do you deal with a person who is uncoachable on the surface but continues to show up?
So I got to give them a praise for still working at it, right?
Right.
And so there's some of the carrot, there's some of the prize. Then there's still some of the stick, right? Hey, pal, you said you wanted to lose some weight. Is that still the why? Is that why you're here? Yeah. You said you want to get stronger, right? Well, we're going to push our intensity because the intensity leads to better results. Your muscles have to strain a little bit so they get stronger. You have to push your cardiovascular system so you start burning some more. You have to do these things that are a little uncomfortable so you can get back to your why. So if I can tie it back to their why and their identity, I got a pretty good shot. If it's, hey, because I said so, it works okay with the kids because they have to be there. The adults that are paying to be there, they're like, yeah, no, So if I can tie it back to that, I can also try to tie it to those around them. So let's say you and I are training partners, and you come in like 2 weeks in a row, and you're like lethargic, and I got to drag you through the workout session.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey man, we're trying to push here. We're trying to do some things this year, and you're not pushing. I got to drag you along. You're holding me down a little bit, right? So I also need you to tell me when I'm holding you down. So if you're my training partner, we're working together, we have that trust built, we can say those things.
Yes.
If I'm coaching you, it's a little different, but I can say, hey, you guys are working together. Remember, we all get better together. It's a lot easier. Teamwork is a core value. Enjoyment is a core value. If you push a little bit more and you help the person next to you, it'll come back and you'll get through the workout as well. So do it for yourself, do it for the person next to you. So if I can tie it in that way, I might be able to motivate them a little bit.
Yeah, because everybody's motivated a little differently.
Right. Like you said, though, if they keep showing up, that's the discipline piece.
That's right.
That's the most important piece that keeps you going. The motivation is fleeting, so I got to find small little triggers here and there that sometimes work and sometimes doesn't. But
Sure.
by and large, it's the daily discipline that's going to win it for you.
Yeah. Before the podcast, we were talking about how you love to get into like the psyche of people.
Mm.
And I think that is something else that fascinates me as well. I love the psychology. I love the why behind the why. What have you found success in using that, and like why do you enjoy it so much?
I don't see any bigger motivators than that. So if your motivation is extrinsic, outside of you, like I want to show this person I can do it. I want to win this title so everyone can see it. So it's extrinsic. There's going to be some push there. That's going to help push you. If it's internal, I'm doing this for me, right? I'm doing this for my family. There's a lot bigger push there. And then if it's internal and beyond you, I'm doing this for my faith. I'm trying to be the best version. That some people say they're the hands and feet of Christ. Some people say I'm doing this all for my family or my mother who's dying, or I'm doing this for my kids. I do a lot. I'll say this in before session. I'll do this for my kids because I want to show them that they can be healthy at 50 and keep pushing. If you can find those buttons, then they can really do some big things.
Yeah.
If it's just because, hey, I'm listening to AC/DC today, or I'm listening to DMX, and the music's pumping along, it's pretty superficial, and that works sometimes. But it's those deep ones that really push people. So I do it for myself. I have it in my own journal right here in front of me for this event I have coming up in August. And if I don't feel like doing some things, I have to go back, and I got like 10 or 12 written down, and some are more important than others. But they're internal, external, and I just kind of remind myself, and it just helps me push.
Right.
It helps me push. And when you have that intensity, then you have that growth. You see you have a really good rep that day in your workout. Then the next day, well, you have a little more confidence because your confidence comes from those reps. And you start doing more and more, and you start doing bigger and better things.
Yeah, I think a PR day definitely helps you motivate yourself into a second PR, right?
Yeah,
And
it
I agree
does.
with that. Yeah. How do you extract that from someone? So in the corporate world, and I believe all things are connected. So what you encounter in your gym is the same thing. People are people, is what I always say. How do you extract from someone the why, or that piece of them finding their intrinsic reasoning? Because I find that it's hard for people to dig in.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you extract that from people? What do you make them do to, like, what exercise do you make them do?
Awesome. Do you work out much?
I
Do you?
do. Yeah. I was a student athlete and didn't do college because I tore my ACL my senior year
Mm.
and all the things. But yeah, I working out is something that I need. Like if I don't work out for like a week, I am not the same Romie. Now my nutrition needs to be better. I'm a sweet tooth girl, but yeah, every day I work out almost.
So you come to the gym, right? I'm gonna say my favorite question: why are you here? So what's your answer?
My answer would be all the things. I want to look better naked. I want to feel good.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no better feeling than after you do a workout.
Why is that important to you?
It's important for me to feel good so that I can bring my whole self to life
Your whole self to life. Now, why is bringing your whole self to life? Why is that important to you?
because people are counting on me.
Who's that?
My wife, my employees, the people that I lead and the people that are leading me.
Gotcha. So why are we having this conversation now then? I usually ask, right?
Mm,
And you'll say, well, I've already been going to the gym. All right. So I'll ask, you said nutrition's an issue. Is that something you want to work on?
it is.
Why is that going to be important?
For the same reasons,
Same
but more
reasons?
so I want to, I'm working out and I am not feeling as great as I know I can feel.
Gotcha. So the feeling isn't quite there. The return on investment.
Right.
Now, if you improve that, how are you going to feel then?
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even if you're not there, but you're working on it, how do you feel?
You feel like hopeful because you're on your way.
You're on your way. Yeah. So that's how I do it.
That's amazing.
I just keep asking the same why questions with a little deviation, and I write these things down. And so you need to have this written down. And I'll say, write all these things down on a little piece of paper, and you're gonna take a screenshot, and that's gonna be when you pull up your phone, right?
Hmm.
That's what you're gonna see. And I want that piece of paper to be taped to the mirror in your bathroom. I want it by your dashboard in your car. I want you to read through that before you go to bed and when you wake up. So those 2 times of the day when you do that, you're training your subconscious. So that when you think about it a few times during the day, as you're driving along, you're thinking about it. When you're driving home, you're thinking about it. In between things, it'll be in your subconscious, you'll be thinking about it. And if you go
Yeah.
for a walk, let's say you're walking a dog, I'm going to say, hey, put on Motiversity or Jocko or David Goggins or Eric Thomas and
Go.
think about those whys that you have. So you're further ingraining it into your subconscious so that when it comes time to act, when you're choosing food, when you're doing your meal prep, when you're training or training hard, you remember this is why you're doing it. And then it just becomes automatic.
Yeah. I feel the shift already saying it out loud. I journal, but I don't often say it out loud. But I think that having said it out loud, I can feel a little, motivation and internal strength. So thank you for that. I appreciate that.
Then you got to find an accountability ally, not an accountability friend.
Ally, what's the difference?
Big difference. Friends will say, "Hey, man, it's okay if you're not going to. Hey, you want to skip today? It's okay. Hey, man, don't do that extra run tonight. Let's just go to the bar, have a few beers, we'll watch the game." Like, so, what did you play? Did you play baseball, softball, volleyball, basketball?
Basketball, volleyball, track.
Oh man, basketball's going on right now,
Yeah.
right? You see Ohio State, Purdue last night. March Madness is right around the corner. They start setting these things up.
Yeah.
Now, I got plenty of friends that want to go out drinking beer, smoke cigars.
Yeah.
The ally says, hey, Jim, be here at this time. We're going to push. Hey, Jim, you said you want to work on your nutrition. Did you meal prep? When's your meal prep day? Sundays. On Sundays, did you meal prep? Yeah, good. Next Sunday, did you not meal prep? No. Okay. We'll be at the gym tomorrow, right? I go, yeah. So I show up. He goes, you didn't meal prep? I go, no. He goes, okay, 500 push-ups.
You.
500, man. 10 on the minute, that's 50 minutes. Like, that's pain, right? But this person, you have this ally that you confide in and say, please don't be selfish and help me. And here's how I mean that. I got kids, you have partners, you have family members. when they're suffering, when they're hurting, when they don't want to do the homework, when they don't want to do the push-ups, when they don't want to run, sometimes the parent or the coach sees them suffering. They feel bad internally because they care about that person. And so they'll take that pain away and say, hey, man, it's okay. Don't worry about it. Don't do the dishes. I know you're bitching about. I'll do the dishes for you. Whatever. I'll help you with the homework. You don't have to suffer through it. My internal feeling of discomfort goes away because that person's happier. So now I feel happier, right? I'm going to say, hey, I love you so much that I'm going to keep you in this level of pain so you can grow through it. It's not fun for you. Definitely not fun for me because I don't want to see you in pain. But by you getting through this, you're going to get better. And that's what I want. So I'm not going to be selfish and try to help myself. I'm going to care and love you so much that I'm going to push you to get better because that's what I really want for you. Because someday I'm going to be dead and gone and you're doing it on your own.
That is the ultimate display of love. Yes. Yes. I use that in having difficult conversations when I coach about it. And I'm like, you don't want to have a difficult conversation because of how you feel. It's all about you, and you have to push through that. And you just gave it right back to me in a different way that shit, man, that's deep. That's really good because I do feel that. I do feel that when people are in pain, I'm just like, how do I let it up? And I'm thinking I'm doing it for them, but in reality, I'm doing it for myself. That's deep, Jim. That's good, man. That's
Thanks.
really good. Leaders need to be seen, heard, and felt. Let's dive into that.
Mickey Marotti, I got to give credit. He's the head coach at Ohio State in terms of all sports performance. So strength and conditioning, sports performance, the nutritionist, all of it, right? So
Yeah.
They got 22 strength coaches just underneath him. I call him up. I'm on my way to Ohio to see some other gyms and talk to some folks. And I don't know this person from Adam. I sent him an email, found him on the website and said, hey, can I just come by and talk to you for an hour? He's like, sure, no problem. Here you go. I come by and he's so giving of his time, and then he gave me some referrals, and I ended up spending the day there, and I did it a second time. And now he actually endorsed my book. But I then have him on the podcast, and I asked him a question about you, or not about, I asked him a similar question. What do you tell your players on leading other players? Because it's one thing for the coach to lead the troops. That's their job,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
But when you're being led by your peers, that's more impactful, and it's very challenging because they're kids still trying to be adults in a hard role. Because you saw they just won the title on Monday in football. That's hard.
Yeah.
And holding your peers accountable. So I go, what's your advice on that? He goes, no problem. Seen, heard, and felt. Okay. So if you're leading those other kids, whether you're the coach or you're one of the teammates, they got to see you doing the work. They got to see you there on time and early, right? They got to see the habits. They got to see the body language. They got to see the preparation. They're seeing all the things. They're seeing you not bitch when you're doing extra runs, right? They got to hear the words out of your mouth. Whether you're the coach or the kid, hey, we're doing this, let's go. We're doing this, come on, right? Hey, here's, when you're squatting, knees out, chest up. Lock your arms out on the press, right? They got to hear the words. But then the intangible, the piece, they got to feel you. So you can be robotic and say, hey, man, knees out, head, chest up, just go. You can say it like that. But it's that enthusiasm. It's that you're looking them in the eye and you're grabbing them by their shoulders like, hey, we're trying to win here. Let's go. So that when they see, hear, and feel you, then it's empowering. The person's like, okay, I'll follow along.
Yeah.
That speakers that are engaging and they touch the nerve, but they also give you the knowledgeable bullet points to use. And then they see you doing it. So if I'm there and I'm coaching and I'm 400 pounds, or if I'm there and I'm talking about getting really, really strong, but I'm 150 pounds, right? If I'm talking about being disciplined and they always see my car down at the bar.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's all the things. And what you do as a parent, do as a coach or as a teammate, there's impact, right? There's impact. Yeah. And it's easy. It's 3 words. It's a reminder. It's all encompassing. It's simple. And I'm like, are you doing these 3 things? And they're like, yeah. Okay, then you're good to go.
Right. It's pretty deep though, as well, and I do agree. I think peer-to-peer leadership is like another level unlocked that us as leaders of, like the coach, you can't unlock that level that they can unlock in that peer-to-peer interaction and peer-to-peer leadership. And I really think that that's something I'm definitely going to steal, because I coach my team to be peer-to-peer. And so I think those 3 words, although simple, are very profound. That's dope. You have 6 values that you live by.
Try.
No?
I try. Those
Right.
those are my main 6. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Don't always win.
No, of course, right? But that's where the hope is. That's where the striving. If you did, then maybe it wouldn't be as much fun as it is to try.
True.
You know.
I get knocked down quite a bit. Yeah.
So how did those 6 come about in your life? What was it? Reading, listening to podcasts? Like, how did you string those 6 along, and how do they tie into each other?
That's a good one. So, remember those first couple of years, I'm sucking at running the business, and to get it started, I had to take out some loans. And it's a brand new business. The banks aren't giving you money. As a gym, not giving you money. It's high risk, right? So in the banking world, I knew some other folks that did venture capital.
Mm-hmm.
So they lent me some money, and we're talking 12% interest rate when interest rates were 3 or 4, plus 3% of all revenue. That's not 3% of net income, 3% of all revenue. Right? So not fun. You want to get out from underneath that as quickly as possible. Those same guys, though, are running other bigger deals. For me, they funded me out of their personal accounts. They're doing $50 to $500 million deals. I was a $75,000 deal. And they're like, hey, Jim, when we work with these other companies, we have them use the traction model. I'm like, what's that?
Yeah.
And so I just get the book Traction by Gino Wickman, and lock myself in a cabin for 2 or 3 days. And I'm going through the book, and it asks you a whole bunch of questions. It gives you a test early on, like the first 10 pages. And if you're scoring like 80 or above out of 100, you're crushing it. My score was like 24, something terrible. But each quarter I would take the same test and bring it up. Early on, it says, hey, what are going to be the values of your company? And I'm like, okay, let's do this, right? Let's figure this out. And if I can put together some words that guide me with everything else, then everything else is pretty simple. I'm all about like the simple laws of nature and just applying them. So I'm like, all right. And they give you like 50 different words and examples, and I'm reading through them all. And I'm thinking about myself. I'm like, well, you gotta be doing your best, right? So integrity's gotta be right up there. But just doing your best, it could be something once in a while. So then you gotta have the discipline piece. So that's number 2. So all right, I'm doing my best, and I'm doing it every day. But am I moving the needle? So Kaizen is a Japanese term from Toyota. It means you're looking for constant improvement, 1% in every area, where it's coaching or the way the gym looks or the colors or the cleanliness, whatever. So like, all right, I'm doing my best. I'm doing it every day. I'm trying to get better. Well, by myself is still not good enough because no one gets there alone. I need help. I need teammates. So teamwork's got to be up there. That's number 4, right? Now, if you're pushing all the time and everything's a grind, and it sucks every day, is that sustainable? No, you got to kind of like it a little bit too. You got to love what you're doing a little bit, right? So enjoyment has to be a core value too. You got to actually like what you're doing. So that's number 5. And then some days, I read about this one. This one hit me home hard. It's a word from Finland. I'm not from Finland, but the word sisu is the mantra for the entire country. And so when you're despondent, when you're at the end of your rope, when you're suicidal, when you're looking at addiction, it means just hold on and never quit. So I'm like, if I have those 6 words, I'm like, that's got to be it. And they said 3 or 4, and I got 6. Then, so that's basically it, right? Those are my main 6 talking about all the time. Of course, I then read Tim Grover's book, Relentless. He was a coach for Michael Jordan. And I'm like, well, let's apply all 6 of those words relentlessly. So that's the manner in which we apply all 6. So you'll hear me say relentless all the time. If they say, hey, Jim, outside the gym or anything else, what is it? I go, faith, family, and health. I'm like, yeah, so that's got to be there. So I got a number of words, but if I'm running my business or myself athletically, if I follow those 6 words and apply them relentlessly, you're set, man. You've uncovered everything. You're completely set. If you're being a bad teammate and not coachable, that's going to show.
Yeah.
And if you're breaking any one of those 6, then your performance will go down, and you'll understand why.
Yeah.
If you go back and you do that after action report and you look at yourself, like, what's going on, man? You're going to realize you broke one of those 6.
And so how often do you go back and like review yourself?
Good question, right? So the last year and a half I've been using this journal. This is plain pieces of paper, and I'm like, now, because like, for my business, for my job, I use that full focus planner by Michael Hyatt, right? I love it, but I'm like, this is for running your business, but it asks you some similar questions, and I'm like, well, I have my book, so I wrote this planner that goes for athletes. At a minimum, you're reviewing everything every quarter, but in the planner, you're reviewing yourself at the end of the week, what needs a tweak, and then do it for the month, then the quarter, then the year, and do big reevaluation. So the more you use it, the easier everything becomes. If you just use it a little, that's fine. You'll move the needle a little bit. As you want to get deeper and deeper as an athlete, you just use the tool more and more and apply it more and more. So, and if I find myself falling off, usually some allies are going to say, "Hey, Jim, you're kind of fucking around here."
Yeah.
Or you'll see it on your results. You improve what you measure, right out of James Clear's Atomic Habits, right? So if you keep measuring everything, you measure your weight, you measure your body fat, you measure your strength, you measure your cardio capacity, how many calories are you taking in, what's your protein, what's your creatine, how many hours of sleep, how much water, right? Then you'll say, oh, wow, I know why I'm not moving the needle, because here it is. So if you track it, you can improve it. Right. And you just get that nerd going in you.
Yeah.
And you apply it to your business or to yourself physically, and you'll see why, and you'll improve.
For sure. For sure. On your website, you mentioned being like a forever learner. And obviously you have 250 books. Why is it important for leaders to continuously learn?
Darwin didn't say it was the strongest that survived. He didn't say it was the smartest either. It's the one that adapted the best. So I like reading the old school things, psychology, things like that, right? That's cool. But it seems like today, a lot of kids learn and connect through Snapchat and TikTok and Instagram. Those are all things I really can't stand, right? However, to adapt and work with them, I gotta meet them where they are. So even though something I really can't stand, I gotta find some way to connect with those folks. When I hear my kids saying what you said, oh man, that's dope, that's fire. Oh man, nice drip, get in the whip. I'm like, what in the shit are you saying, bro? And so they're saying this, and I'm like, if I can't communicate and connect with them, then they're not going to want to work with me. All they see is white beard, put on your gray suit, when's Christmas coming around, Santa Claus. So you have to adapt, and you can either learn from books, or you can learn from the people you're working with, your audience. But you have to be able to connect with them, because people are people, like you said.
Yeah.
And if you can't connect, you're not moving the ball forward. And if that's the name of the game, move the ball forward and improve. And if I can't do that, then I'm done.
Yeah.
And I can't be done.
That's dope. That's a good.
There it is. Dope.
I should try to stay in with the crowd. I don't know much of the terms anymore, and I'm not that old.
No cap, bro.
No cap.
No cap, sister. Right? Oh my God.
On God.
So I'll come up to them. I'll say, I'm going to put the shade on you right now.
What does that mean?
Well, they'll say throwing shade,
Oh, you're throwing shade. Yeah, that I know.
I'll say it, completely dorky white dude. I'm putting the shade on you right now. And my kids will be like, Dad, don't even. I'm like, are you putting a cap on me? Because that's no capping right now. And I'll just say it, and they get so annoyed, they just kind of stop, and they go back to talking like I do, but I'm 50-year-old dork. And so
that's great.
I kind of like have fun with it, and they get kind of annoyed, but whatever.
I love it. Yeah, I think that you seem, I didn't know you 15 years ago or 30 years ago, but you seem happier now in what you're doing.
A lot of ways, for sure. Yeah. So I love making the impact.
Yeah.
Working your normal 8 to 6, making a ton of money, versus, you give up a 40, 50-hour week job to run your own business, which is an 80, 100-hour week job. There's some strain there. There's some stresses there.
Yeah.
Would I rather go back to the financial world? No. No. I've already made so many mistakes. If I ever see Jesus, I have to apologize for. If I have to get there and I say, and I wasted my abilities and talents,
sure,
he's just going to be like,
dude,
bro,
yeah,
you sucked.
Yeah.
So this is it. This is it until I'm done. And this is really all I like to. I like to do things like to go hiking, fishing, hang out with my family, football games or whatever, concerts, country music. But if I'm working, this is all I really like to do.
Yeah. And I would say that if there was a coach, and I'm sure there were coaches like you, and when I was an athlete, I feel like the millennials, as I am, we kind of fell into being a good athlete, right? I don't think I knew what it meant to like run drills when coach wasn't making me run drills,
Mm-hmm.
and I had a really good friend whose parents invested in her quite a bit. And so I would run drills with her. But until I met her, which was my junior year, I didn't know what it meant to push myself harder than I thought I was, right? I would just go to practice and practice was enough. And this girl was running like 2 a days plus practice.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like, oh, you're gonna go somewhere. There's
Yeah.
no way you're not.
Right.
And so I think it's super cool that you have a place for athletes to go and get better. And it's like widely known, and I think that that's important for students, because I think athletics is one of the things that keeps kids off the the streets. If you because you can be susceptible when you're a kid and dive into anything. You start experimenting quite a bit.
Sure. If you're always busy doing things that are helping you, like if you follow Eric Thomas,
Yeah,
the hip
I
hop
love
preacher, he goes,
ET. Yeah, ET.
ET, like,
Yeah.
and he's like, he's so busy all day long, and the devil's tempting him all day. He's like, hey man, you talk to me later. And at 8 o'clock at night, he goes, I'm so exhausted, I'm going to bed. You try again tomorrow, right? He starts talking about that, and I'm like, yeah, if you keep the kids engaged with things that are positive for them, then it's kind of hard to fall off, right?
Yeah.
Because they'll be hanging out with other people doing the same things, and that's going to be their tribe, right? You want a glimpse of your future. Show me the 5 friends you hang out with the most.
Yeah.
And if one of your 5 is that girl that's always training more, then you got a better shot. It is true that, I do provide that piece that helps people excel. The challenge, though, is at my age, back in the day, if you played sports and you were pretty good, you maybe made the travel team, which might be another 4 or 5 weeks. So extra reps against better talent, you're going to get better. So you're probably playing in high school and varsity, so then you're playing in college. Well, now, if you're actually decent, not even decent, you're okay, you could be on a travel team getting all those extra reps. But all those extra reps are now at the high school level. And then those that are middle school are playing at not enough extra reps that they're at the college level in terms of volume. So it's no shock that you tore your ACL. You're playing all these sports, right? Plus, females are more predisposed to tearing their ACLs. But if you're playing all these sports and you never got your body strong,
Right.
then injury is almost guaranteed.
Yeah.
So when I have the knee doctor for the Indianapolis Colts on, he gives me all the stats about ACLs. And he goes, if they would just practice 2 days less a week with their travel team, and they spent that time getting stronger, more powerful, they're going to smash their travel team and not get injured. When you get injured, it's either 9 or 12 months out, and sometimes it ends their career. They're like, yeah, I'm not coming back from that, right? But if you build up their hamstrings and their glutes, and it helps protect the back of their knee, they're not going to tear their ACL. Then there's no setback.
Yeah.
And if you're strong, everyone knows who the strong kid is on a team, right? The powerful kid.
Yeah.
Well, that's makeable. That's so easily makeable. I didn't start lifting until I was 38, right? So I'm like 135 bench or squat, which is embarrassing, was hard for me.
Yeah.
Right?
You started somewhere.
I started somewhere, and I ended with a 610 deadlift and a 575 squat, right? So at 45, imagine building yourself from like 14 on, 12 on, from 12 to 30. There's 18 years. Your body, that's your base. You're so resilient. You're in shape. You're strong. You know how to handle adversity in the weight room. You're not afraid. So you start earlier, bam, life's easy then, man. Shoot. That whole stressor is gone.
Yeah, there's a science to it. It's not just run more drills. It's not just practice. And
No,
yeah,
there's a method.
we didn't do a lot of weight room, so I understand now where the weight room is absolutely necessary to strengthen. Like, yeah,
Huge.
if my knees would have been, you're right, hamstring, if I would have tightened that up, or if I would have strengthened that little twist to get the ball would not have, popped my ACL.
And that's not just me. Pick the last 50 episodes on my show of the coaches and trainers and athletes.
Right.
They'll give you the same answer.
Yeah.
I got thin female pro volleyball player. And she's like, yeah, I hurt my knee. It wasn't a tear. I took a year off and got stronger. And that propelled me to be an All-American, and I ended up playing pro. And I was the only one doing it. And I was like, bam, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's dope.
No cap, baby.
No cap, baby. Jim.
Yes.
Final thoughts.
Okay. From me?
Yeah.
On what? On anything?
Anything.
Tomorrow, man, not promised. Gotta go now. And when people metaphorically say, man, burn the boats, right?
Yeah.
Like, do that. What does that mean? It means get rid of all your investments and going all in, right? And if it's not in a relationship, maybe it's not on your health and wellness, go all in on your relationship. You know, your grass is greener where you water it. So
Amen.
push on that, but tomorrow's not promised. And those fears that you're worried about people looking at you funny, they don't really care about you that much anyways. You got what, 3 or 4 good friends? Beyond that, those people, they're friendly, you like to do things with them, but their opinion doesn't matter. If you're not going to take advice from them, their opinion doesn't matter. So just swallow all those fears, take steps, and push.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more. I feel like I'm ready to go run a marathon right now.
Oh, man. I hope it's not cold where you're at.
It is cold. It is cold. But I've been battling with this whole, there's a race coming up, and it's 3.1, and I've never done it, and I've always said I wanted to.
Okay.
And here we are.
5K.
You know, it's, you know.
When is the race?
It's February 23rd.
And where are you located?
Las Vegas.
Nice and warm out there.
It's not warm. It was 24 degrees this morning.
Girl, it's 2 below where I'm at.
But there's a reason why I'm not there.
Right?
That's
so,
wild.
It's a 5K. Have you been running at all?
Well, I can do a 5K. I want to do the 13.1.
0.1. I should say 3.1.
13.1.
Oh, so that's only 4 weeks away. Have you been running much?
I have not. But I was a runner. I'm going to start. Jim, what do I need to do?
Push your goal back and then train, right? Yeah, you can get through it, right? You can get through it. If I held a gun to your head, you would get through it. Is that really training? Is that sustainable, right?
No.
You see people doing 75 hard or whatever else.
Yeah.
You want things that are sustainable. Sustainable. Right?
So find a race in March or April.
Yeah.
And start training.
But you need accountability along the way.
Yeah.
So if you already done a 5K, maybe you do a 10K
this time
in February and a 15K in March.
Okay.
Or you set up a training program. And if you need a coach, I know one that does that. And I've run a half marathon before, and I've done it under 2 hours. So I know what the pain's like. And I'm training for something real long and scary this year too. So I get that. So
yeah, I think we're adding some more.
Great. I can use more clients because then I make an impact, and that's me being selfish. I feel good about me when you win.
Yes.
So I'm just looking to make people win. So half marathon, cool, no problem.
Okay. Yeah, I appreciate you. Where can people find you online?
Online. So Athlete Builder is the name of the podcast. So I looked it up on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes. I think it's even on Amazon Podcasts. We have all the social medias to go along with that: X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn. And then it's athlete-builder.com. You can email me at info@athlete-builder. The book is on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. And then the planner, it goes along with it. Should be finalized this week and out next week. And there's a digital course as well if you want more of me for 10 hours, lining everything out for you. So you can do it yourself with the book, you do it yourself with the course, or you can do it with me together. You know, there's a lot of ways to get you better. And if not me, then get someone else and keep pushing.
Appreciate that, Jim. Thank you so much. Everyone, go find him. All the links will be in the show notes for you, so you can find him easily through there, or you can just follow his voice and find him like that. So with that, we'll be ending this episode of Leadership from the Heart. Thank you so much, Jim, for joining us today. You dropped a lot of gold. You've motivated this girl quite a bit today, and I appreciate that. I needed that. So, you know, everything happens for a reason. You know, we found each other the way we did, and here we are. And here we are. So again, guys, this is the end of that episode. Like, subscribe, and share, and we'll see you next time. Thank you so much.
Thanks for being on. Thanks for letting me on.